Folks, before we get into the episode, here is a chance to get to know our guest, Arjun Prakash, better. So I'm going to ask him a few random words and he has to answer them by sharing the first thing that comes to his mind, be it in a form of a single word or a sentence. So Arjun, I'm not going to put you on spot, so that is assured from my side. So if you are ready, we'll kick off the first rapid fire round.
Let's go. I'm excited.
Superb. Same here. And here comes the first word. It is movie.
Godfather.
Invention.
Necessity.
Future.
Right.
Book.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Water.
Source of life.
Food.
Tasty.
Place.
Home.
Name.
Arjun.
Animal.
Tiger.
World.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Funny, and that was a quick rapid fire. And Arjun, first of all, thank you for participating in this so sportively. And I also appreciate you proposing one of my all-time favorite topics that many of us contemplate at some point in our professional lives. And the topic is, should you change your job or career? And folks, whether you are feeling stuck in a job that no longer fulfills you, or seeking new challenges, or simply exploring avenues for personal and career growth, this question can be both daunting and exciting. And especially in today's fast-paced and evolving world, the concept of a linear career path has become less prevalent. Instead, individuals are increasingly open to exploring different options and making changes in the career that align better with their passions, values, and long-term goals. And few experts say we need to pursue our own passion, and few experts say, no, you don't have to pursue your passion. And somebody believes that you have to go with the flow, and somebody says, no, you have to have a predetermined path chalked out in the mind and take it forward from there. However, deciding whether to change your job or embark on an entirely new career requires careful consideration and thoughtful decision making. Remember, these career decisions are highly individual and there is no one size fits all answer or approach. The goal of today's episode is to empower you with the tools and insights necessary to assess your situation, identify your strengths, aspirations, and ultimately make the right move for your career growth and overall satisfaction. So let's embark on this journey together and let's explore the possibilities, evaluate the pros and cons, gain the confidence to make a well-informed decision about whether changing your job or career is the right step to you. And folks, get ready to discover new perspectives and valuable insights that will empower you on your path towards professional fulfillment. And thank you so much for joining us. And let's dive into the exciting world of career exploration and decision making. By the way, you have tuned into the Guiding Voice podcast series, The Guiding Voice for a Better Future. And I'm your host, Navin Samala, a fellow professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make the world a better place to live. And through The Guiding Voice, we drive conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and your career. And thank you once again for tuning in. Arjun, hearty welcome to The Guiding Voice. And I'm super thrilled to have you. Finally, we are here.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Naveen.
So let's get started, Arjun. Right now, you're the founder of Pivot. And what are the top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far? And especially what led to embark on your entrepreneurial journey?
Wow, we're diving right into it, huh? So, yeah, I mean, there are a few different things that contribute to anybody's success, right? I think it's hard to pinpoint to just one thing, to be honest. See, firstly, I do feel like, the kind of, nurturing you have during your childhood and, the kind of schooling you have during your childhood. I think that matters a lot. I won't dive very deep into that, but I think a lot of times people just attribute success to individual qualities. And I think it's important to not just focus on that, but also see whether, things from a schooling education perspective have led to where you are today. So for me, that has played a significant role. I was able to get some of the best education during high school and college, right? And I'm very privileged and fortunate to have had that. Apart from that, Personally speaking, I've always focused on learning as a big attribute throughout my career, in the sense, no matter which stage you are at or what kind of project you're dealing with, which environment or work culture you're in, learning has been my North Star. So always, trying to identify new things you can pick up, which might be within your domain, or sometimes more importantly, tangentially related to your domain. So, for example, I used to work in consulting, in primarily like HR, talent management consulting. But we had to develop a very strong knowledge of how businesses work, how the financials of a business work in terms of top line, bottom line growth. So I had to educate myself on that very deeply so that we could relate everything we were consulting on from a talent standpoint to what businesses were ultimately trying to achieve from a financial standpoint. So learning's been a big reason why I would say, I have been able to achieve whatever I have so far. Second thing is definitely having the right people and mentors around me. So again, been very fortunate to have some great people, very smart, giving, and accomplished people who have been able to help me in my career. And the last thing I would say that has helped me in my career is just making decisions based on what I think is right, rather than my peers or the environment telling me. So kind of making independent calls that align with my goals and priorities, as opposed to saying that this is where the rest of the crowd or the trend is, so let me follow that. I think, yeah, these are some of the things I would say.
Yeah. I'm totally aligned to your first statement, which is about it all starts with your schooling. And in fact, I can also resonate with that statement because my school education has a profound impact of me as an individual and the kind of career aspirations that I have. And so is the case with my classmates. And next important aspect that you mentioned about is making self decisions. And this is very, very important because many a times people try to get a second opinion, third opinion, fourth opinion, and finally there will be no opinion at all to take any decision, and they end up not acting on it. And I've
Yeah.
noticed many people doing that. I think that this is profound. And Arjun, let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey and what are some of the toughest lessons that you have learned after embarking on the entrepreneurial journey.
I think this one, I don't know how many entrepreneurs have gone through this, but I definitely had to experience, my own way of navigating this challenge as an entrepreneur is, not having a tech background. So what I'm building currently is a tech product, right? And initially, when I first started, I had zero understanding of anything related to tech, to be honest, right? Because I come from a consulting background. And that actually hampered the initial traction and growth that I had towards building the right product, right? But I think that might be very specific to me, because there are a lot of people out there who have the tech background, may not have the business background to build a product, right? Apart from that, I think one common challenge that I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs face is, how do you kind of maximize your time and resources which are available very scarcely, right? There's a huge scarcity of time and resources when you're starting out. How do you leverage that for maximum impact, right? So that you're also not burning yourself out completely. I think a lot of people would love to, let's say, hire the right team members and get a lot of support from maybe consultants and agencies, but you don't have all of that, all the resources to hire and work with 10 other people.
Yeah.
So that actually has been the biggest learning experience for me, how to do more with less.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing more with less is going to be the future of any business that we take, because we're in the world of artificial intelligence, and anything can be done in the span of minutes using this chat GPT kind of tools. But essentially, businesses are being developed at a rapid pace and without giving attention to the optimization effort. But down the line, I think we will see a lot of scope in the business transformation area. And on that note, you mentioned about your product is of tech background, and you didn't have technical knowledge much before getting on this. So can you briefly talk about the product that you and your team is building on?
Sure. So yeah, we are building Pivot, and you can check it out at mypivot.work, mypivot.work. Basically, what we are trying to focus on is build a platform that provides all the solutions a person needs to achieve their key career goals. Okay, especially at critical points in your career when you're making some sort of a transition, right? So we actually started by focusing on just career change as the problem, where let's say a person is working in a specific domain, let's say like an engineer, and they want to transition to product management or data analytics, right? How can that person do that without spending a lot of time, money, effort on their own, and at the same time not going through a very stressful journey where they are not able to find the right people or resources to leverage, and they have to figure everything out on their own, right? So we're building a platform where if a person is undertaking such kind of a transition or even considering, then they find the right insights, they find the right tools, and they find the right support system to be able to achieve that goal. Yeah, so that's what Pivot does. I mean, I can talk a lot more about that, but I don't want to spend too much time.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing the highlights at least. And now let's get into the core of today's topic. Like I think audience must be waiting for this answer. How to decide whether you should make a job or a career transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, if we're just talking about that open-endedly, right? I think I personally try to make decisions using some mental models or some frameworks. Okay. Otherwise, it becomes very subjective and hard to actually know if you're making the right decision or not. Right. So, firstly, when it comes to career choices, you have to understand that any given point in time, you don't have all the information. Right. So, you shouldn't blame yourself or regret if you make a choice which did not work out. Right. Because if you always regret or you blame yourself, chances are you won't take any bold risks, right? Because you would be very risk averse, which a lot of people have become today, especially in India, right? So I think you should try and make decisions based on whatever information you have at any given point in time. And in case things don't work out, have a plan B. That's number one. Right now, in terms of deciding how to choose between a job and career transition, I think it's a very simple framework that I have. So the framework that I use is basically asking, three questions about your career to yourself. Number one is, do you like the nature of work that you do? It's a very simple question. The day-to-day work that you are doing, do you like that, or do you feel you are not well suited for it? As an example, let's say you are currently an engineer. Do you actually like coding, or do you find coding to be boring and it's a pain every time you have to do it, and then you get a lot of feedback from your superiors to fix things regularly, right? So that's one. You like the nature of your work. Number two, you feel there is a good growth path in your career, right? Which means over a period of, let's say, 5 to 10 years, you feel you would be able to achieve a certain level of impact through your work. You would be able to get to a certain level of responsibilities and role, and perhaps compensation levels as well, right? So when I say growth path, it should not just be pay. It should be personal fulfillment, the impact you make through your work, and the overall title and responsibilities that you're getting. So look at growth path holistically, right? So that's number two. And number three is you have to identify any challenges which you feel you are not able to overcome or deal with on a long term basis. For example, there could be certain careers which require somebody to work long hours, or somebody to work random hours, sometimes at night, sometimes during the day, right? Like for example, in healthcare, you have to work sometimes night shifts as well, right? Or even if you are a doctor at the senior levels, okay? So it's not that anybody would be happy as a doctor. There are a lot of people who want structure in their lives, right? And they might not want to do, let's say, night shifts. So you have to understand is there anything about the nature of the role which is going to become a challenge or a sticking point for you, which you're going to then dislike over a period of time? So these are the three core questions, right? Your likeness of nature of work, your growth path, and whether there are any insurmountable challenges in your work. And basis this, what your answer is to these three questions, you can at least come up with some level of clarity on whether you need a job transition or you need a career transition.
So let's assume after undergoing these three steps of the framework, they have decided, okay, I want to transition, right? So how can they plan and execute the transition?
Yeah, so I think, see, job transition is much easier compared to a career transition, right? I mean, job transition is something that in India at least has been happening over the last like 2.5 decades, at a very rapid pace. So average job tenure in India back in 90s used to be somewhere around 5 to 6 years, right, at one company. Today it's around 2 years, right? So what that means is people are changing their jobs very frequently. So people, I think, understand generally what to do when they're changing jobs. You need to understand what opportunities suits you best. Then you need to prepare your job applications, your CV, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, and then you need to network with people, right? Get referral opportunities and also apply on the right portals. I think that's a general approach. There might be certain other things you can do to maximize your success rate, but largely speaking, these are the things. Oh, and obviously, like prepare for interviews, right? So these are some of the things you do for job transition. Now, career transition is where I would maybe spend a little more time, because that's something that has only started happening more often in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years. Right now, when a career transition is being considered, first and foremost, you have to understand why you're transitioning or why you want to transition. Because if that why is not clear, it is possible you go through the entire journey of the transition but still come out unhappy or dissatisfied at the end of it if you have not been able to meet your priorities. So first and foremost, are you changing career because you are passionate about a certain role, or you're changing career maybe because you're feeling stuck in your current career and you want to do something very different, right? Or you just feel like there are not great future prospects for your industry, for your current domain, right? So that why is very important. Once you have that why clear, you need to then get clarity on what are some of the roles that align with those priorities that you mapped out, right? For example, let's say my interest is in writing and my priority is to get good work life balance as well as some decent job security and pay. In that case, perhaps content marketer role might make sense for you, right? So you have to align the priorities and interests that you have with the roles that exist in the market, which will have future positive prospects. So this clarity is very important. Once you have this, then you have to understand your profile and whether there are any gaps vis-a-vis the role that you're applying for. So basically do a profile gap analysis. And generally the gaps are either in your skill set or in your network when you're changing careers, right? So you have to then identify what are some of the core skills that you're lacking, which will help you succeed in getting that role that you're targeting. And how do you bridge the network gap? How do you connect with the right communities and right people who you can then learn from and then perhaps get opportunities to collaborate with them?
Yeah.
Once you have done this, then you move to the final phase of your transition, where you start looking at your job applications, right? So you look at your resume, cover letter, your interview preparation, LinkedIn profile, all of those things, and then finally start applying for roles, either again on portals, or I would say since 80% of jobs are not advertised on portals, it's very, very important to leverage your network and perhaps LinkedIn to try and identify more opportunities as you're applying for roles.
Yeah. So now let's assume this person is ready to hunt the job or make that next career transition. Then comes the profile part. As you said, somebody has to tweak their CVs and also update their LinkedIn profile, which is one of the most important aspects in today's professional world. So what are your tips for someone to optimize their profile in order to maximize the success rate?
Honestly, there's a lot of uh, pointers, advice out there on this stuff, Naveen, right? Like I will share whatever I think works best, but honestly, like this is one area where I feel like if you just do a simple Google search, you will get like hundreds of things you can do, right? So I think first and foremost, you should look at making a very direct connection between whatever your strengths and experiences are with whatever the roles requirements are. So think not from your perspective when you're framing your applications, your LinkedIn profile, right? Think from the employer or the recruiter perspective, right? Why should they hire you? And it's not about kind of catering to whatever requirements they have. It's about very strongly pointing out the linkage between who you are and what you can do in that role in terms of helping the company or the team. If you can spell out that linkage very easily for the recruiter or the hiring manager, it makes their life very easy, and they would want to give you an interview opportunity or even a job opportunity. So this can now translate into different parts of your profile, whether it's your LinkedIn profile, whether it's your CV, whether it's your interviews that you're doing. Your goal for the roles that you are trying to land should be to just connect your strengths and skills and your experience with how you can actually translate it into success in the target role. That's how it should be. Apart from that, there are tons of advice around, like, okay, use your star approach in resume and
Yeah.
quantify your achievements, and be succinct and use action verbs. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think those things are quite commonly available online. But if I'm looking at it from a 10,000 feet view, my number one advice is make it very easy for the recruiter and hiring manager to connect who you are with what they want to achieve in that role.
Mm-hmm. So keep it simple. And for those of you who are not aware of STAR, it stands for situation, task, action, and result. So typically, that is approach that is used in terms of articulating your professional accomplishments, and also that should be the way in which your talk track should be during the interview process. Yeah, very well explained, Arjun. Now let's move to the next question. A while ago, you mentioned about the role of mentors, right? So let's talk about the role of mentors or coaches in the transition, and why should we approach a mentor or a coach?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. I think people often think about this, but they end up not really executing on this. And one of the biggest reasons is most people don't have a mentor in their lives to begin with, so they don't know what advantages they can have with a mentor, right? When you don't know something, there's less likelihood of acting on it. Secondly, it's kind of hard to find the right mentor today, right? It's not easy for everybody to just easily find a mentor in their life who suits their professional requirements, especially, right? So because of these two reasons, the status quo is such that people just don't have mentors. Like I would say, the 90 to 95% of people out there don't have mentors. They have bosses, they have managers, but they don't have mentors. Now, firstly, what is a mentor? I think mentor is somebody who has walked the path that you want to walk in your life to a large extent, and they want to actually invest in your professional journey, meaning they are willing to give back to you and help you understand what it will take, be successful and achieve your goals, right? So those two things are very important. I mean, there are a couple of other factors. We recently talked about this in one of our other workshops that we had done. But to me, a good mentor is somebody who actually understands the work and career goals you're trying to achieve, and then has the interest and willingness to actually invest time and effort in it, right? Now, what can the mentor actually do for you and how they can benefit? That's the crux of the question, right? So, first and foremost, I think talking to somebody who has first-hand experience of being in the trenches of the role that you're aspiring for, I think there is no substitute get to understand the role or the domain better than that. No amount of Google research or any other kind of source of information will help you understand in the most focused, productive, and efficient manner what that role or what that industry is really like, right? That's number one. So it's kind of a shortcut to understanding the key points about a role and a career path. The second thing, which is actually the most important thing, is a mentor can help you gain an understanding of what are the resources you need and what are the steps you need to take to be successful. So a lot of times, let's say I'm starting my own startup now, right? I can think in my head of 100 things that I should be working on, right? And just keep processing them in my head. Or I could maybe even discuss it with a friend or family member who are not entrepreneurs, but because I use them as a sounding board, I take their advice on everything. And they might have some good feedback as well. But they themselves don't necessarily know what it's like to start a startup, right? But if I have somebody in my corner who has built a moderately successful startup, even, and they can tell me that this is what you need to do in terms of, let's say, building an MVP, go to market strategy, hiring your team, fundraising, all of these things. And they've done that before. I mean, imagine how much easier it would make my life, right? I mean, I still have to execute on all of these steps. There's no shortcut to execution, but this is a shortcut to information gathering and also for brainstorming as to what ideas would work best for you. So I think this is probably the most important thing for mentorship. And the last thing I would say is you generally need a sounding board and an accountability partner when you are trying to achieve certain career goals in your life, right? And again, you can have your friend or family member to help you with that. But at the same time, if you have a mentor who is, somebody who has the professional understanding of your domain, that is kind of like the game changer for most people. That can help you make decisions not just emotionally or based on your personal life factors, that can help you evaluate your career decisions from very objective standpoint and in a more professional manner. So yeah, I think these are some of the reasons that I would say everybody out there should strive to get a mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I concur with you. In fact, having a mentor is not only acts as a sounding board, and as you rightly mentioned, they have already walked through the path, similar path at least, and they will give you first-hand information rather than doing research on Google or any other platform and relying on somebody who is trustable. I think it makes more sense. And this has been great conversation so far, Arjun. Let's add some spice to the episode, and it's time for us to kick off the second rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Oh, wow. I didn't know there was a second rapid fire, but sure, let's go ahead.
All right. So here comes the first question. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Okay. It would say character over charisma, substance over style, empathy over ego, and awareness before action.
Wow. Super powerful. And if you were stranded on a deserted island, what 3 items would you want to have with you?
3 items. This is a tricky one. I mean, definitely some weapon, because I think for survival you need a weapon for sure. Probably some food and some water. Yeah, I don't know. This is not my best answer, but I've never been on a deserted island, so I really am not prepared for it. Clearly,
the idea is just to make you prepared in case if you get an opportunity in future.
I hope not. I mean, I hope I don't have to face that. But
indeed,
yeah.
Moving to the next one, and can you describe yourself in just one word?
Balanced.
Okay. And if you could be any fictional character for a day, who would you choose and why?
Any fictional character for a day? I would say there are multiple people, but a lot of them are from real life. I would say the one fictional character which I would want to be for a day is, the book that I was talking about. To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mockingbird, yeah.
There is a character in there which is Atticus Finch, who is basically a lawyer who helps people who don't have equal rights in society, and he's made it his life's mission to make sure that justice is served to people who don't have equality. So like something like that. I know it's a little serious and deep answer, but I think there is a big necessity for people like those in today's world.
Yeah, agreed. And if you could have a conversation with any historical figure, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Wow, that's an interesting one. Can I give two answers for this one?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So one would be Van Gogh, Vincent Van Gogh, right? I've always found his life story very fascinating. I mean, it's one of the bleakest life stories that I have ever come across. A person so talented yet so under celebrated during their lifetime. And understand, basically what really motivated him to keep going despite never ever getting any success in his lifetime, right? Because that is the hardest challenge in life anybody can have, when you are doing your best at all times but not finding any results, right? What keeps you going every day? So really understanding that. And the second thing I think I would love to have a conversation is probably Dhoni. I mean, I know it's not a fictional character. It's MS Dhoni. He's like the man, the myth, legend right now, right? Given everything that's happening. But again, it's kind of like a similar thing, except he ended up experiencing a lot of success in his life. But if you look at him, similar to Van Gogh, he just keeps going. He never stops, regardless of the wins and losses. He's doing it because he loves the game. He loves that the art that he has built over his career. And yeah, I think it's very fascinating for me.
Fascinating for me too. I loved both the answers. And with that, it brings me to the last one for the rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget that you like to see or invent yourself, Arjun?
Well, if it's a product, like a hardware product, I would probably say that, something like a AR sort of a gadget, which might already be there. I don't know. But I think, yeah, like if you can look at a person, like if it's almost real on your phone or something, or like especially not person, more like spaces. Let's say I'm checking out a house, right, that I want to purchase, and I can just look at it on my phone rather than actually going to that house and really do a proper 3D or 4D tour rather. I think that would be super cool. Now, that's the product, but if you're looking for like a website or an app, then I would love to somehow invent an app where you can be in multiple places at the same time. I don't know how that really gets solved as a as a solution, but like that would be a great thing if you can have multiple versions of you in maybe the metaverse. I don't know if that's the answer.
Right. Quite interesting. And then let's flip back to the mainstream. And what will be your key takeaway message to our audience, Arjun?
I would say, see, because I'm currently really focused on career transitions, a lot of times people make decisions based on fear and pressure, right? And sometimes you might feel like you made the right decision because of fear and pressure. And sometimes you do need to listen to the fear and pressure. But know that there is more than fear and pressure that should determine your career path, because that's when you're able to maximize your potential, right? If you're just always trying to survive, or just trying to keep your head above the water, you will not always maximize your potential. I think it's important to understand your core interests, your strengths, and then act upon it in a very deliberate way, not by default but deliberation, that you can achieve your maximum. That's what I would leave our audience with today.
Superb. I loved every bit of the conversation, and including the key takeaway. And so before I let you go, please share how is your experience being hosted on the Guiding Voice platform.
No, I had a lot of fun, Naveen. Thanks again so much for having me. I think the questions you asked were very pointed, and I hope they add value to our viewers' lives. And yeah, keep doing this. I mean, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time and all the insights that you have shared. And looking forward to
absolutely
many more conversations in future. Have a fantastic time. Thank you so much.
Arjun. Sure. Thanks, Naveen.
So, folks, that was our enchanting conversation about whether to transition your job or transition your career. And it was fun talking to Arjun Prakash. And before we move into the trivia section, here is a request to you. Please subscribe to us in case if you haven't done already. Also, if you have loved the episode and found the conversation useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who can benefit from the guiding voice, and so that your friends will get to learn new stuff like you, and we will get a new set of subscribers. Thank you so much in advance. Now let's hop into the trivia segment. So I would like to present you a few interesting trivia about career transition after having a great conversation about career transitions with Arjun Prakash, founder of Pivot. And folks, here comes the first fact. The term encore careers refers to a growing trend where individuals pursue new careers or start businesses later in life, and typically after retiring from their primary careers. And the second term is portfolio career, and which refers to a career approach where individuals have multiple part-time jobs or engage in various projects simultaneously, allowing for more flexibility and diversity in their work. We have interviewed a couple of fractional CTOs and fractional CXOs. So those kind of jobs fall under this category, which is portfolio career. And according to a study conducted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average person changes careers 5 to 7 times during their lifetime. And here comes a few facts about prominent personalities and how they have transitioned their careers. So first one is actor Harrison Ford. He initially worked as a carpenter before transitioning to acting in his late 20s. And he eventually became one of Hollywood's most successful and iconic actors. And the rest is history. And second is Mr. Colonel Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, did not find success until his 60s. I think most of you are aware of this fact. But what did he do before his 60s? He had a long and varied career, working as a railroad worker, lawyer, and gas station owner before founding KFC. And the last fact is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, was a single mother on welfare before becoming one of the wealthiest authors in the world. And her career transition from struggling writer to literary phenomenon is an inspiring example. So, folks, by looking at these role models, I'm sure you might have got inspired to make that career switch or a job switch and go ahead and pursue whatever you deserve. And remember, career transitions are a common and a natural part of many people's lives, and they offer opportunities for growth, reinvention, and finding fulfillment in new and exciting ways. And I'm looking forward to your feedback on this episode. And also, if you have any comments related to career or job transition, please feel free to comment. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to share your topic recommendations and guest speaker suggestions through social media, or you can email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. And I'm your host, Naveen Samala, a fellow professional and a passionate learner on a mission to make this world a better place to live through conversations that matter and conversations that add value to your life and to your career. Until next time, see you all in the next episode with another wonderful guest. Take care, guys.